Um, Welcome to our third Fireside Chat, which we're trying to host on a weekly basis on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. And what we're looking to do is chat with athletes, race directors, small business owners in the endurance sports world. Today, we're going to be talking to Callie, Vinson, and Hector Rodriguez, who will be taking on Aravaipa's Cocodona 250 here starting on Monday, which is an event that I did a year ago. So this will be a fun conversation. We have Gandhi, who's joining us. He is our moderator. And so when I say moderator, you actually have the ability to ask questions of Hector, Callie, or myself. On the bottom of your screen, there's a little question mark. Just tap that, type your question, and will be moderating it and be getting us involved and asking questions. So thank you all for joining us today. Really excited to host this chat with Callie and Hector. And so just so we can get started real well and everybody knows who we're talking to, Callie, can you give us a little bit of information about who you are and what you do and why Cocodona 250?
Yeah, so I'm Callie, originally from Florida, lived in Chicago 10 years, and now I'm here in the heat of Arizona, Phoenix. I work for an ad agency during the day, and then either early mornings, early afternoons, evenings, all-nighters. I do ultras and ultra trail running and everything outdoors. I'm big into camping, overlanding, you name it, hiking, and just being in Arizona has been the perfect place to be for all of that for the last year. So I found out about Cocodona when I was living in Chicago, probably in the midst of the coldest winter you could possibly imagine. I was like, I want to run 250 miles on the sun. This sounds perfect. So as soon as I could, I reached out and I got an entry for it, and here I am, 5 days, 6 days away from running it.
That's awesome. Hector?
Yeah, I'm Hector from San Diego. I blame a lot of my shenanigans on David Goggins. I picked up his book, like a lot of other people, December 2018, and spent all of 2019 just hitting the pavement, a lot of miles, a lot of challenges, a lot of failures too. And then 2020 started getting my stride, had my first couple of successes, I could say, with Aravaipa, which got me familiar with them. Loved the community, loved that whole Aravaipa team. And so I knew as soon as they put together that Cocodona 250 that I had to give it a test, go see the fam, and see if I can complete it, especially after the carnage I saw last year. So I'm super stoked.
That's awesome. So one of the things that we do here at Run Try Bike Magazine is tell stories so that beginners who are just getting started in this stuff can understand that we've all started somewhere, right? So Hector, I'll start with you. Give us a little bit of background on how you got started in these sports, and you're embarking on a 250-mile event, which you don't just jump into. You completed a Grand Slam of 200s as well. So what would you also tell yourself about this journey, your younger self, when you first started beginning?
I would say consistency is key. And I would say other people's limitations are not yours. And I think I'll owe a lot of credit in my life to Goggins and that Can't Hurt Me book, because his whole 40% rule and a lot of the different things he talks about to me applied. And when I saw him in a conversation say, I get after it every day, I took it at the time super literal. And I was like, okay, this guy is getting after it every day. He's a beast, he's a savage, he's tough, he's mentally strong. What can I do similar? And how can I get that applied to other areas of my life? And so I gave myself to average 10 miles a day. And it's something that I still continue to today. And I just believe that the discipline, the consistency, and the time on feet that I've done that has given me the opportunity to go and do things that not many people can do. And, puts me in a position to think that I can go out and do 250 miles here next week. So I attribute it a lot to just believing I can do it.
Callie, your story is a little bit different. You had a weight loss journey. Tell us a little bit about that. And, as you get ready to embark on this journey, tell us how that person is the person you are today now too.
Yeah. So over the course of, what was that, maybe like a year and a half, almost 2 years, I was able to lose 200 pounds. So before then, I was living like the most unhealthy lifestyle you could possibly imagine, eating fast food 3 times a day, didn't even want to walk around the block. And it was one day I was telling people that my friend wanted to go to brunch, and I looked at Google Maps and it was a mile away, and they're like, oh, we could walk there. And just the thought of that terrified me. And just knowing that it terrified me just like created this little fire in me that was like, this isn't right. This isn't the way to live. And just, after going to the doctor a few times, just hearing the story of, if you continue down this, it's not going to be good for you. Basically you're staring down the barrel of an early death. So slowly but surely started making some changes. My first change was just like making my lunch every day, making that a habit, and then making my dinner, making healthier things, just not, continuing on with this healthy life or unhealthy lifestyle that I was so used to living in. Once I had my diet down, that's when I decided maybe I should try running, because when I was a kid, I was always an athlete. I played soccer a lot. I actually went to college because I was a rower back in high school, and I was going to go to Berkeley to join their running team or their rowing team. But at last minute, I decided to join art school, which was like a hard left turn. But yeah, so that's really where my unhealthy lifestyle began. But it was when I went to Chicago and realized that all these big dreams that I wanted to do, I wouldn't be able to fulfill if I continued to live this way. And so slowly picked up running, injured myself because, of course, I was a very ignorant runner in the very beginning, went way too hard, too fast. But once I was healed, I picked it back up again, and just started running whenever I could, busy lifestyle, working in advertising, but I loved it and I wanted more of it. And I remember one day I was standing on the train platform and the newspaper came out for the Chicago Marathon, like it was the week before. And I was like, oh my God, running a marathon sounds ridiculous. But I'm curious. So it was the next year I decided I'm going to try and run a marathon. And I signed up with one of the teams there. It was for Team Paws, part of a no-kill animal shelter. And I did it. That was my first race ever. I ran the Chicago Marathon. And after that, I was hooked. I think I was at a doctor's visit and picked up a Runner's World magazine and heard about the Western States 100. And I was like, that's just ridiculous. 100 miles on trail, too. Of course, I was curious. And I found out that there was a 50-mile ultra in Chicago, and it was called the Lakefront 50-50. And I did it, signed up, and I was like, all right, I want more of this. And then it just snowballed into that, what it is now. I'm going after 250 ridiculous miles in just less than a week. But yeah, what drove me to where I am now is just trying not to be that person I was, and proving to myself that I'm better than that I can do these hard things, that they're not impossible. And if you truly believe in the person you are on the inside, you can totally be that person on the outside.
That's lit.
I think so. I want people to understand, right? Callie and Hector didn't just wake up yesterday and press the registration button on a 250-mile race. We've all started somewhere. On our site, runtrimag.com, we have a litany of how it all started, profiles, because we all start somewhere, and there's a spot at the starting line for everybody, we believe. So you don't have to jump into a 250-mile race. You don't have to be like Justin, who we talked to last week, and start out, with the world's longest triathlon, right? Do the 1 mile, like Callie mentioned, and before you know it, things will grow from there. One of the questions I want to ask you guys is a question I got asked repeatedly last year on my way to Cocodona, and Callie, we'll start with you. And the question I got all the time was, how do you train for this? So I'll put it in your hands. How are you training for this event?
Yeah, so it's not too different from training for like a 100-mile race. What I've done differently is instead of 2 back-to-back long runs on Saturday and Sunday, I do 3. So basically, you're imitating what race week might be. Obviously, I'm going to be out there way more than 3 days. I don't know about you, Hector, but so I would do my long runs on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So maybe a little rest on Mondays, do a shorter run on Tuesday, shorter run on Wednesday, rest on Thursday. But then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday would be the days that I would spend the most time, on feet. And I would divvy it up in different ways of spending that time too. So Friday would be maybe like my only running all day kind of day, or however many hours I want to be out there. Saturday would be a mix of running and hiking on trail. And then Sunday would be like all hiking, just like the longest amount of time for those 3 days. So it was just mixing it up, basically. But definitely using those 3 days as like the block in the week that's going to make the most difference and make me feel the most confident going into next week.
How about you, Hector?
I think my base is just getting that 10 miles a day, whether I'm walking, running, or hiking, whether it's treadmills, street, trails. And then always every Saturday morning, just depending on who wants to hang out and go for a run, we'll hit some local trails around here. And then, so I'll get definitely a few hours more on a Saturday, or a little bit more time on feet on Saturday and Sundays. And then probably in the last like 3 years, I'd say maybe there's been 2 or 3 months where I didn't have an ultra. So
Okay.
like every month I'm throwing myself in some kind of ultra, 24, just all kinds of different things, or crewing for an ultra distance, or pacing and just doing things like that. So I'm always pretty active, and at least once a month kind of got something pretty long distance to stick with the base.
Something
Awesome.
else I want to add is this is the first time I've actually been consistent with weight training. I am terrible at weight training and being consistent about it, but just knowing how much climbing is going to be involved, I spent a lot of time just working on both lower body and upper body. Because if you're wearing this pack that I've got right here, that's got 4 liters of water in it, and you're going to be climbing up a mountain, your legs and your arms and back have to be strong. Oh, I have a little arts and crafts project going on over here. This is padding that's going to fit under my,
Yeah, smart move. So
Yeah.
we've got a lot of people joining us. Thank you for joining us for our third installment of our Fireside Chat. Today we're talking with Callie, Vinson, and Hector Rodriguez, who will be tackling Aravaipa's Cocodona 250 starting on Monday. We have our moderator, Om Gandhi, who is also the social media manager for Run, Try, Bike. Please feel free to ask questions in the little question mark box that's down below. And looks like we have one. So Om, I'll turn it over to you to ask.
Yeah, we have a question from Steph Wags 12. He says his first 24-hour event is this weekend. He has 50K experience in 10 marathons, and he's asking if you both have any advice for him.
Hector, go first.
Okay. My advice would be probably start off slower than you want. Would be my number one. I think in almost all ultras, I always see everybody going too fast too early, and you'll see carnage as you start seeing those people start to not be able to make it. And then the second biggest piece of advice, or second and third, would be just staying on top of like your salt pills or your electrolytes and food. You're going to definitely burn a ton of calories. So I personally like to be like nibbling and sipping like every hour on the hour. And then I'll also personally have like full-on meals if I'm doing a 24-hour, like 3 closest thing to real meals as I can get, depending on what the course aid station has.
Callie?
Yeah, I would agree with exactly what you said, especially going slow at the beginning, because the excitement's there. Like everyone's standing at the start line, you want to go out fast, you want to have a good time, you're feeling it. But just know the nighttime is coming. That 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. is coming, and it is harsh. So I would say for sure, start out slow, save your energy for, after 5 p.m., after 7 p.m. And depending on how hot or how cold it is, I think that too is going to play a lot into your nutrition and how you spend the speed. Like if it's hot, I usually go way slower during the day, because then if you don't want to burn that energy if it's hot and you're already going too fast, then you're going to just be a zombie at night. So depending on whatever weather they're under, I think that makes a huge difference too. And then something else I like to do for the mornings is do something to like wake yourself up, whether it's like have some music that you've been saving out on, or wash your face or brush your teeth, whatever, something that's just gonna like get you jazzed up and feel like you're ready for like a brand new day.
Yeah, so as a coach and as an ultra runner myself, I always tell people when you start out, if you feel like you're going slow, go slower because
Mm-hmm.
there's a you're probably burning that candle really fast. So,
Mm-hmm.
great tips. I want to turn to Callie. This question goes to you first. You said it's going to take you 5 days. What are you most nervous about over the course of these, 5 days or so?
I'm probably the only one who's going to say this, especially for this race, but I'm worried about how cold it's going to be at night, especially knowing how hot it's going to be during the day. And I'm such a big wimp when it comes to temperature swings like that. Like I was volunteering at the Whiskey Basin race this weekend in Prescott, which is where the beginning of this race is. And as soon as the sun went down, I had to put my North Face jacket on. So I'm a little concerned about how cold it's going to be at night, especially when we get into those higher elevation areas. But I think from what I've asked people and just what research I've done, it's just the layers and making sure you have change of clothes at aid stations or with your crew or whatnot. But yeah, that's my probably very weird, unnecessary concern.
That's not unfounded. Hold on, Hector. I will tell you with experience, when we left Crown King and we were running overnight, by the time we got to that next aid station, I was freezing because you spent all day in the hot sun. I was freezing and veggie broth was key, right? It was just something that to keep me hot while we sat in that aid station before we got moving again. So it's not an unfounded fear. For those of you who are going to be participating, make sure you have that warm weather gear. I would also tell you this if you're, depending on what your sleep situation is like, I slept in the van that we rented for about 3 hours every night. And before I got in the van, I put on a couple of sweatshirts and sweatpants because your body temperature is going to go down and, you're going to get cold. So I would dress warmly too. So now, Hector, your turn. What are you most nervous about for this event coming up?
For me, it's I'm more sensitive. Like the thing that I get the most jacked up in all of these ultras is on my feet. Like it kills me, and so I get real cautious to every step and what that step feels like. And I remember pacing Mike McKnight during Coco last year, and just going like, this ain't trails like back home, like San Diego. We got way more butter here, and it's way more rubbly and technical and difficult. So just enduring and persevering and dealing with the inevitable pain from the technical trails that I'm expecting to experience out in Arizona, as I have all the time I run on the trails out there. So that would be my only thing that I think I'm really like eyeing and just going to be monitoring how that's feeling. So
are you going to have multiple shoes?
always do. Yeah, multiple shoes and half the full size bigger. Like I'll have a whole shoe selection ready to go to manage it.
Yeah, so I had one pair of shoes for the first day and I switched out and then the rest of the time I wore the same pair of shoes from there on out. But at every aid station, untied them, got them off my feet so that my feet could breathe for a couple of 3 hours. Which leads me to my next question. Sleeping patterns, sleeping habits. What are you guys planning on doing? Hector, we'll start with you.
What has worked well for me is normally the first night I forgo sleep. I won't even sleep at all. The second night I'll likely sleep probably like an hour and a half-ish. And obviously any of this can change based upon how I'm feeling. And then the third night, I'll normally give myself like another half hour, so somewhere between 2.5. Then the third night, like 3.5. And so I kind of do that until I'm out the mess. So just kind of scale up the sleep over the night.
How about for you, Callie?
This is my first instance where sleep is a must in an ultra because the longest I've gone was, technically like 135, but that was something I did by myself. But for a 100-miler, I don't sleep in those. So, and I'm also a terrible napper too. Like my naps are 4 hours long. So my sleep strategy is going to be try and get a little bit of sleep every night, even the first night, which I know to me feels so premature, but I'm going to try because I know just sleep is going to be an issue for me. It's maybe more of an issue than how cold it'll be. But yeah, I've got an eye mask that I'm gonna wear. I got some earplugs to block out noises. But yeah, I'm gonna try and get probably kind of like Hector, like hour and a half the first night. At least that'll be my goal, and then depending on how fast I'm going, try and get maybe like 2 or 3 hours possibly another night, and definitely do those during the nighttime section since I know those will be my weaknesses.
Yeah, so I mean, for anybody who's listening, it's going to be different for everybody. So for me, first night, which was actually the daytime, because we ran through the night because Lane Mountain was so difficult for us last year. I slept an hour and a half the first time I fell asleep. And then at that point, that was too little for me. So each night thereafter, and it was always at night, was 3 hours, just so I can find my circadian rhythm again. And it was absolutely a minimum of 3 hours every night thereafter. So for those of you who are embarking on this journey, this is some information from Callie and Hector, but do what feels best for you. This is your race and this is your event, so make sure you take care of yourself. We got a lot of people joining us again, so thank you very much for joining our Fireside Chat. We're talking with Callie, Vinson, and Hector Rodriguez, who are going to be embarking on the Aravaipa Cocodona 250 starting on Monday. It's Om Gandhi, who is our social media manager for Run Try Bike Magazine and our moderator today. So if you got questions, there's a little question mark on the bottom of the screen there. Type it in there, and we'll turn to Om to ask that question. And it looks like we have another one, so Om, feel free to ask away.
Yeah, and it looks like we've already started getting into this as far as strategy goes, but Trail Professor has kind of a loaded question. What is your strategy for Cocodona? Yeah.
My whole strategy for Cocodona?
Maybe like running strategy?
So if there is even like a slight bit of uphill, I'm hiking that. And even the flat sections, I'm going to be hiking that too. I think where I will be doing any running is going to be towards the end of a section when my pack is the lightest. And that's just to save my feet. I think like when we cross the start line, I'm not going to be running because that pack is going to be full. So yeah, I would say towards the second half of each section, that'll be where I do any running, but that's probably where it's going to be, a very runnable spot. Otherwise, I've been doing tons of fast hiking. I'm a very fast walker. I've got that down to a T. I'm like almost 6 foot tall. Not a problem. But yeah, I would say this run is going to be a fast through hike for me.
Hector?
Yeah, for me, one, it would be just survive, endure, get to the finish line however I can. For me, I'm big on letting the heart rate dictate the pace. Mm-hmm. So I'll just have whatever my heart rate is going, whether that's like a super slow jog, whether it's a walk. Similar to Callie, I'll be definitely hiking or walking the ups and probably shuffling or trotting on the flats. So yeah, I'll just kind of, as I get going, I'll see what my heart rate is at, I'll be tracking that. Like I track that throughout all of my runs and just try to keep it in a sweet spot and let that kind of dictate me and keep me above cutoffs. So that's kind of my plan.
Awesome. Go ahead, we have another audience.
Yeah, actually, we have a couple more questions. First one is 2911 is asking, what are the time goals for both of you, if any?
Hector?
I don't have a time goal. I guess it would just be I want to finish this thing. Yeah, I think maybe as I get going, I'll start making goals, but I don't know. I guess maybe Saturday morning. I don't know what the hours would be. That way I can enjoy Saturday and celebrate Saturday night. And I'm not still out there. But I haven't put too much thought into a specific hour number.
How about you, Cal?
I'm kind of the same way. I just want to finish, especially it being like my first time going after Cocodona. According to my pace chart, it says I'm going to finish Friday night, but it'll probably be like a Saturday morning thing, because if I just want to, shuffle through this at, the what do they call it, the ultra shuffle, least or the most efficient pace you could possibly do something like this. So make it as less of a struggle as it already will be.
You said there was another question?
Yeah. This we touched on this a little bit earlier, but maybe not the actual metrics. Let's Race app is asking what your weekly mileage has been. How do you fit in longer mileage during the week?
Callie, we'll turn to you first.
I think my weekly mileage has sat around like 80 to 90 miles for the weeks. And if it's a longer day, sometimes I break it up into two different efforts. Like I might do like 10 or I usually base my training on hours. So I'll do maybe like 2.5 hours in the morning, 2.5 in the evening, just to save my feet mostly, and just to allow as much recovery time as possible, knowing that I am putting, more time on feet, more effort. But like I mentioned earlier, this hasn't really been too much of a shift from regular ultra training. It's just doing that back to back to back long run.
How about for you?
I would say it definitely flexes throughout the year, but I would say my overall average would be somewhere between 70 and 90 of either walking, running, hiking, just kind of moving, getting those miles in each week. I think has kind of been my sweet spots.
For those of you who don't know, Hector has participated in the Grand Slam of 200s. And so that's where this question is coming from for you, Hector. I thought about this. So what about this is different? What about this race is different than the other 200s that you towed the starting line of?
It's longer. And so it's longer. There's more, it's 250 miles. I think it's a 125-hour cutoff. And then different terrain. Like I mentioned, this is pretty technical. Those other races definitely had some technical parts too. So just the different terrain of Arizona, and I think it's a little bit longer. The benefit I would say Coco has that is really standing out to me is the aid stations are much closer, and there's more of them, at least what it looks like in the runner's manual, than some of the other races where we would go long ways before we saw aid station. And then it seems like this one is also more crew friendly and kind of like not too far for your like crew to come back to kind of like the headquarters or the central location. So I'm seeing a lot of like kind of benefits from that versus like Bigfoot. Like Bigfoot, you are just way out in the middle of nowhere, knows. And once you go out crewing, you're like committed to that athlete for days because of the distance in between aid stations. So those are kind of some of the high level things that I'm tracking. All beautiful.
Yeah. So Callie, this question is for you. As a Native woman, what does it mean for you to run this race in Arizona?
Yeah, I think just, being outside in general is just an opportunity to connect, with the outdoors, to connect with those natural elements. It's just something that's kind of within you, it's something that goes back centuries. So just being able to do that for this race, 250 miles worth, however many days worth, it's just like a truly meaningful experience that I'm really looking forward to. And yeah, I don't know if I've mentioned it yet in the chat, but I am doing this representing Native Women Running. They are an organization. They are like an entity, and the woman who runs it, Verna, is amazing. So I'm super excited to do this representing Native women.
Yeah, Native Women Running and Verna are near and dear to our heart. We featured her in our magazine last year, and she's just been fantastic to talk to and very helpful along the way as we try to bring more and more people to these endurance sports events. Hector, I'm going to put the question to you kind of similar. You've got your group with the Wolfpack. What does this event mean for you and the Wolfpack crew?
I think for me, one of the things that has sucked me into the 200 milers and why I keep coming back for more is the people. It's the community. It's the staff. It's Aravaipa. It's Destination Trails. It's like such an amazing vibe, such an amazing experience, amazing people. Everybody's there. Everybody wants everybody to succeed. Everybody's willing to help you, motivate you, team up with you, get their runner, to the finish line. And being in nature, kind of like what Callie just said, it like my first Moab 240 experience like shifted something in my brain to where I just can't get enough of being in nature, being with community, testing your limits. Like I literally feel like an uncivilized wolf running through those mountains, just like an animal. And like it just is something that just taps into me, and I'm like, hell yeah, let's go. And then to do it with, family, friends, people like like I got to meet Callie across the years and spent some time and had a wonderful conversation. I know there's going to be other people that I have never met, and that I'm going to walk away Cocodona 250, and they're going to be like Callie, and Wolfpack family to me, and there's no doubt I'm going to have so many more new relationships and friendships and brothers and sisters and all that good stuff that these races produce, and I'm stoked for it.
The one piece of advice, and I've got probably 1,000 of them, but one piece of advice I will give you guys is at night, it's going to be hard, right? You're going to be like, man, I want to go to bed. I want to sit down on the nearest rock and just look at the sky. It was mesmerizing when you're out there to see the sky and all the stars and everything else. And it gives you life, and you can keep going. So your family, your friends, and your crew are going to be uber important all along the way. But I would also tell you, take a moment. If you finish in 110 hours or 110 hours in 1 minute because you looked at the stars, it's worth it. Take the time to embrace all of it that you see out there. There's a whole bunch of people that have been joining, so just want to welcome you all to Fireside Chat for Run, Try, Bike Magazine. My name is Jason Bahamundi. I'm one of the owners. We're talking to Callie, Vinson, and Hector Rodriguez, who will be taking on Aravaipa's Cocodona 250 starting on Monday. For those of you who don't know, it's a 250-mile event run through the heart of Arizona. This year, they'll be starting just south of Prescott and finishing in Flagstaff. And again, it starts on Monday. I think the cutoff is 125 hours, so give or take 5-ish days. We have Om Gandhi with us, who is our social media manager and moderator. If you've got questions for Callie or Hector, there's a little question mark on the bottom right. Just put your question in, and we'll get it answered on this IG Live for you guys. We're going to do a little bit of, looks like Callie's got a fan from Run Faster. Callie Vinson's going to crush.
Facts.
Nice.
Facts.
Facts.
I just, the camaraderie in this event and amongst the endurance sports crew, especially in ultras, something like this is unlike anything else. And so, I love to hear that kind of stuff and you guys chatting along. We're going to do a little bit of rapid fire here real quick. So, Callie, we'll start with you. What section of the course are you most looking forward to?
Sedona.
Hector?
Flagstaff.
Well,
Hector. Finish line then?
Flagstaff, I'm a sucker for, I don't see trees like that in San Diego. So
true.
I love the trees and just the vibe Flagstaff has.
Hector, what food item must your crew have for you?
Burrito.
Any specific kind?
No. It's egg, bacon, carne asada, whatever. Hook me
Callie?
up.
I'm pretty boring. I like instant mashed potatoes.
Yes, I saw that on your post the other day, and I'm going to tell you a quick story, or as quickly as I can, because I love to talk. So, when you're eating all those gels and all that stuff, like my mouth got so raw that I couldn't take any of that stuff in. And so what I did was I got to an aid station and I asked them if they had instant oatmeal. And they said yes. So I had a Ziploc bag. They poured in 2 packets of instant oatmeal into the Ziploc with cold water, and it just became mush. And then every 15 minutes, I'd open up that Ziploc bag and I'd take in some of that mush. And it was the
Sometimes
best.
it's the best mush you could possibly
It was the
have.
ever, because it was cinnamon, it was apples, it was like everything you can imagine. And
Exactly.
before we Eldon, they didn't have instant mashed, they didn't have any more oatmeal, but they had instant mashed potatoes. So what I did was I said to them, can you pour some honey into the instant mashed potatoes? So then now I had 2 packets of that as I went up Eldon. So if you need a little more, there you go. Put some.
That's a good tip. So the person Run Faster, he was the one who told me about it. But I I made that into a post, and I got some really good ideas. Like someone put instead of water, using broth, like if they've got broth at that aid station, or like someone said put butter in there for extra calories, but I don't know if they'll have butter. But anyway, a lot of good things you can get with instant mashed potatoes. And I like because it's so lightweight too. Like it doesn't have to be heavy until you add the water, which you can do at an aid station.
Yeah, it was perfect. I'm telling you, it was ideal.
Mm-hmm.
Keep this going. So, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, we got a question from Coach Cal 13 for Hector. He says, Hector, bro, it's Ryan. No chance I can hang and rock the black hoodie in Arizona. I gotta know, you gonna rock it the whole race?
We're gonna definitely be rocking some kind of hoodie the whole race is the goal. Might be a windbreaker though.
Just get one of those T-shirt hoodies, and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
And then during the day, and then put a breaker on at night.
Yep.
Dirt naps, Hector. Yay or nay?
Yay. Hell yeah.
Callie?
And nay, I've seen the critters that roam the desert.
Yeah, that happens too.
Slithering in.
So when we got into Sedona was the first time I took a dirt nap, and it was glorious. And then it just became a dirt nap like every 10 hours. And it was the best thing ever. I'll have to share this picture. I'll put it on the Run Try Bike Instagram account when we finish this. But there's all these pictures of me taking dirt naps throughout the event. And those 20, 30 minutes are phenomenal. So you got critters, but you're going to have a pacer. So make sure that they're watching and they're not sleeping while you take your naps.
I won't have pacers, but
good
I'll be
for
on the
you.
lookout myself.
Okay, finish line, Callie. Jump or crawl?
Oh, I'm crawling.
Hector?
And then I'll jump.
Trekking
You can
poles.
For me.
Back.
What was that?
Trekking poles, Lecky or Diamondback? Or other?
I'm lucky.
Yeah,
Lucky.
I'm the same. I like the gloves.
Yeah, you're great. And for an event like this, go ahead, Callie.
I was going to say, fun tip I picked up from the little Cocodona podcast series they had going on. I forgot who said it, but she would have to put sunscreen on her thumb because it was getting so exposed to the sun wearing those gloves. Like the rest of your hand is covered, but her thumb was like throbbing because it was so sunburned. So carry some extra sunscreen. I've got some extra.
That's
Come
perfect.
find you.
Okay, Callie, songs, audiobooks, or just nature?
Nature.
Hector?
House music, 23 hours of the 24 probably. Non-stop.
That's been. Do we have another question in there? Looks like we got another one pop in there.
No. No other questions.
Awesome. So for those of you who are joining us, we're coming to the end of our time here with Hector Rodriguez and Callie Vinson, who are going to be taking on Aravaipa's Cocodona 250 starting in May. Can't thank you guys enough for joining us. I'm going to leave you guys with this. This is your goal. Make sure you go out and get it, and don't stop moving those feet until you get to the finish line, because it is one of the best finish lines I've ever crossed. What's it called? Heritage Square, I think is what it's called in Flagstaff. And, you know, all the people that are there, they'll be cheering for you. Trust me when I tell you, it'll be like no finish line you've ever experienced. I just saw Native Women Run give a shout out to Callie. So many people wishing you guys good luck. What I'd love to do is have you guys back here, you know, maybe a couple, 3 weeks after you've recovered to tell your stories of how the event went, if you guys are up for it.
Awesome.
Definitely.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Anything you want to leave the audience with? Callie, we'll start with you. Any parting thoughts about this event before you head into it?
I just don't know what I've gotten myself into. I'm excited. I'm probably like Hector. I just want to like be at the start line right now. Like this whole week, I'm trying to stay present and like center my chi with work, but it's so hard right now. All I want to do is just be there at the start line with everyone and with this whole ultra running community, because it's just such a blast once you get into it. But
Hector, as a friend of 200 milers, any advice you want to give to those who are embarking on their first before we let you go?
Same thing. Start off early. try to keep that heart rate low, walk the uphills, have trekking poles, eat and drink, you know, and sleep when you have to. So, but I do want to just say real quick, just thank you to everybody who jumped on, who listened, all the love, all the support, and definitely want to shout out who you had on here a couple weeks ago, our man Justin True, with the True Triathlon starting this Sunday. So hopefully you guys can be tracking him as he's swimming from the Florida Keys to Miami, and then you got us running Cocodona 250. So it should be an exciting week for endurance sports.
Absolutely. And yeah, so for those of you who don't know, Justin True was on last week, and he's going to be embarking on the world's longest triathlon, swimming from the Florida Keys and biking from Miami to California, San Diego, I believe, and then running up the California coast. So lots of big events going on. Really excited to follow all of you guys and have you all back to tell your stories of your events. And so for those of you who have joined us and are not following us, just click that follow button on Run Try Mag. We're hosting Fireside Chats on a weekly basis pretty much, where we're talking to athletes who are doing phenomenal things. We're talking to race directors so you can get information about your favorite race coming up, and to small business owners in the endurance sports space so you can get an idea of what we're all trying to do to further endurance sports cause. Callie, Hector, thank you guys for joining us. We'll talk to you soon. Have a good night.
We love you, Run Try Mag.
Thank you.
Bye.